There is a very specific reason why when you try to envision your desired reality, it feels fake. And it's not just because the outcome is missing. It is because the inner organization of being that type of person with the outcome is missing too. It's like, yes, you can grasp the steps it takes to get there, but being the kind of person who can get there feels really vague. So when someone says, just feel it as done, it can feel insulting. And you, like me, might be thinking, if I actually knew how to already be the identity of someone who lives this life, wouldn't I already be living this life? So yes, it can feel fake AF to imagine it done, to try and hold the identity energy of an energy on the daily. You know, you don't really have the natural instinct to produce. The real question is, how do you become familiar with an energy inside yourself that you do not yet know how to be? And that is what we're going to work on now. Hi, my name is Allison, and I teach manifestation through identity shifting and acting from your own inner authority. So the $1 million question is, how are you supposed to embody a version of yourself that still feels foreign to you? And the first thing we have to clear up is this idea that to embody a new identity means you have to be 100% familiar with it first. That's not how becoming, evolving works. You know how swimming pools have an actual legitimate size called Olympic-sized swimming pool? Well, athletes don't train only in kiddie pools until they qualify for the games. No, they dive into the deep end of that big-ass Olympic-sized swimming pool and start training from there. They develop themselves into an Olympic-level athlete in the Olympic-level pool. In other words, you start identifying with it while you develop the capacity to identify with it, while you develop the capacity to live as it. And you do that simply by practicing from the even tiny little access you have now to that identity. It's like learning a new language. At first, it feels foreign, 'cause it's foreign. You may know some of the vocabulary and the structure. When you're learning Spanish, you know that there's like proper and familiar ways to say words. But when you're learning, you hear the words in Spanish, you translate them into English, you think about a response in English, and then you translate it back into Spanish. Nobody accuses you of faking it. Everyone understands this is the process you go through to become fluent. We must allow ourselves the same care and process to evolve. Because at first, this new version of you, this new identity, doesn't feel natural because it's being translated through the old identity. The old identity is the language through which you think. So we are allowing ourselves this transition period to go from processing life in this old reality way and into allowing this energy to come in and develop and gradually turn this into something we can summon naturally, automatically. There's a little processing development time to become familiar and fluent in our new reality. Unfamiliar doesn't mean it's fake. Okay, so we may know the steps to take. Okay, if I want to be 20 pounds lighter, I can think that I need to exercise, eat differently, speak positively to myself. But knowing the steps is not the same as feeling internally fluent in the language of being an identity of someone who is fit and skinny, of being fluent in the energy and identity of someone who naturally takes those kind of actions. And that is why embodiment matters so much. It's the energetic process through which you allow yourself to be the person while you are developing the ability to live as that person. For example, let's take me for an example. I can be in the process of becoming a woman who is 20 pounds lighter. So I can take time to establish the feeling and the identity. Today I am 145 pounds, which could feel fake because, well, the weight scale doesn't confirm that. Well, because my jean size definitely doesn't confirm that. There is no physical evidence to make that statement true. So my thinking mind can start to say, not quite. But through embodiment, through taking the time to feel the energy of that statement, I am 145 pounds. And all I am doing is working on feeling that real. And if I can feel that real, then I am that, because I know that by embodying that energy today, there will be a someday where my physical reality will match that feeling. And on that day where the weight scale, where the evidence does produce proof, I will know that is only true because I took the time to first produce the energy. So, in fact, I am today 145 pounds. Do you get it? Do you hear what I'm saying? If you do, please say so in the comments, because sometimes it does feel like I'm yelling into the void. But I think that if you're watching, you got it. The more you practice simply resting in that energy, the more it will will solidify in you and become your fluent identity language. This is not faking it. Faking it is claiming the result while still claiming hold of the old reality, incapable of producing the result. Embodiment is claiming the energy while you become familiar with it. Another way to help ourselves through this process of becoming, of not feeling like we're faking it, we can remember a very important lesson, best summed up, in my view, by Frederick Dodson, the reality creation coach. And he wrote, "The mirror never smiles first." If I stand in front of a mirror and I'm frowning, I don't expect to see a reflection of a smile. If I'm standing in front of a mirror with a frown, but I want to be happy, the mirror's not going to give me a smile back. I will only see in my reflection a frown. The mirror, reality, can only show you what you've allowed to be true so far for you. It cannot produce something new. So when you begin to embody the energy of a new identity and the reflection in the mirror has not changed, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It just means you're looking at a reflection that has not fully caught up to you yet. So your job is not to stare at this old reflection and ask whether or not your identity is real. Your job is to stop letting this reflection interrupt your embodied energetic training. Okay, so how do we practice this energetic training? Let's do something I am going to call embodiment bites. And this is where I think it would be a best practice to journal in the morning to find the feeling of the identity. Abraham Hicks' book, Ask and It Is Given, has got a great whole book of resources on how to journal and find the vibration that coincides with this identity. The point is to feel the vibration, touch it, then close the journal. Because most people will then take that feeling and then plan out their day. Say, okay, I'm gonna be this person. I'm gonna write out a to-do list of things I think this identity would do. Take actions that I think this identity would take. And often that's where we butt up against that feeling of feeling fake, because we're rushing through this embodiment step. There is no action that supersedes embodiment. Embodiment is not like a to-do list thing to check mark and then move into the action, because that's where the results really get produced, right? That's our thinking mind trying to take over again. So instead of planning to-do lists or planning to take an action that represents this identity. Instead, we plan for moments to embody the energy of this identity. Little embodiment bites. So perhaps before I eat lunch today, I'm going to take a moment to embody this energy. And that's it. I'm not going to plan to then have a salad, right? I'm going to be okay if I then eat pizza, because embodying the energy is not so that then I can move into action. Embodying the energy is its own action. So that maybe you intend to embody the energy before you respond to a work email, or before you get into your car for the day, or before you pay rent in the evening. That is energetic training. Little embodiment bites all day long where we're pinging that energy, we're establishing that vibration, we're creating strength there. And eventually, that energy will start to influence the actions that come next. Again, it's like learning a language. If you're just now starting Spanish 101, you're not going to book yourself to go on stage and give a speech in Spanish. We start out with little bite-sized pieces of information. How can I go to a taqueria and order a burrito? How do I say please? Thank you. How much? Is guac extra? Speaking fluently at a high level comes later. And it will come later if we keep our energetic training. Same as identity. There is no doing that supersedes being. We are moving away from the idea that action produces identity. And instead, we are producing the energy of the identity first. And then the action will become a natural expression that will follow. That is how what once felt fake will begin to feel natural. And I hope that this video was helpful to you, and I would love to hear about it in the comments. I thank you for watching, and I look forward to bringing you more. Thank you.